As human beings, we are bound to be in relationship with other people. Human beings are social animals by nature, and hence we have to develop social relations if we are to live in this world. But it so happens that when two different beings with two different personalities come together in one place to interact, to share information, and to give favors or ask for help, we do not really come to common points all the time, right? Whether it be in any kind of relationship whatsoever, mostly in romantic relationships. The cause of almost all our problems in relationships is ego. The sense of being somebody, the feeling that I am somebody and I have a position and a mark in this world, in this society. That's what usually causes all the problems. But ego is also an innate thing. It's not like we can eliminate ego completely, but we have to be masters of our ego. We have to understand when and how we can use the ego for our advantage and not let ego take over. Now guess what the opposite of ego is? It is love. In today's episode, we shall be talking about how ego acts up in a relationship and how love should be acting up in the same relationship and how love should be acting up instead and in which manner, coming up in today's episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of Spirit Seeking with Pratik on Sound Health Solution. In today's episode, we are speaking about ego and love, how ego comes around in relationships and how it should be replaced instead by love. Let's get right into it. So the first thing is ego, this sense of being somebody inside you, has a disability to let go. Right? It wants to hold on to things because only when it holds on to things can it exist, can it be significant. So for example, if you had a fight with your spouse, right? Now yes, both of you came up with heated arguments, both of you had this heated moment and now it has subsided. Now is the time to let go, move on and try to build positive rapport. But what ego does is it fails to forgive. Whatever the other person said to you stays somewhere in and around your ego, and it still feeds the ego. And the ego is like, hey, this person said this to me, this person did this. Yes, we might be calm right now, but that doesn't mean I need to forgive. That doesn't mean I need to let go. That's what the ego does, right? Now, most of the problems related to ego get solved when you acknowledge them in the moment. For example, when you're unable to forgive, when you acknowledge that this is my ego which is unable to forgive, that's the moment when you are able to turn the tables take the reins in your hands and say, this is the doing of my ego. This is not really productive, or this is not really helping me in any way. So I will just let it go. I will just have love and compassion for the other being, because I understand whatever the other being did or said comes from his or her own pain, aches, and problems. Unlike ego, when you practice love, love will be the first to forgive. And even in your further discussions, your further arguments, or in future, you and another person has a disagreement and might hurt each other, love will be the first to forgive the other person. When you forgive the matter, when you forgive the person, there is no food for the ego to feed on. And eventually, the problems, the arguments, the disagreements die out faster. The second thing is that the ego is afraid of love, right? The ego always wants to control, and when it cannot control things, it starts fearing them. Now, love is a state of being as simple and as compassionate and as kind as possible, and the ego cannot control that. Kindness comes from our innate human nature. We are born to love. We are love in our most basic nature, but the ego finds its place and it tries to replace love, and we go along with it. But once we practice love, the ego knows that now it has something that it cannot control. So it'll be a constant fight for a long time between ego and love as you practice being more lovable, more loving. The key to this is not just practice love, but to practice its roots, which is kindness. Kindness cures all. And love knows that whatever you send out comes to you in multiplied terms. It comes to you in threefold. It comes to you in tenfold. So what love is trying to do is by sending kindness out, so that the person who is sending kindness out will also receive kindness in return in the long term, in threefolds or sevenfolds or tenfolds. Another thing to be aware of is ego has its henchmen. I remember watching Disney's Hercules, and Hades had his henchmen, pain and panic. Similarly, ego also has its henchmen, one of which is dishonesty. What the ego tries to do, it tries to bend reality, it tries to create illusion, primarily for others, but it eventually becomes an illusion for yourself. See, if you keep repeating a lie, that lie becomes a truth for you, right? And you act according to the truth that you have rendered inside yourself. That's what the ego does. It uses the sword of dishonesty to cut through whatever it deems to be its enemy. However, love is patient, and love always sees the truth. Love is Sashwat, as they call it in the Indian subcontinent, which means it's eternal. It has nothing to fear, right? Our ultimate nature is love. So it relies, or rather it looks for the truth and nothing but the absolute truth. Ego and love are two of the most important elements for me too, personally, because I have been playing around with them and experimenting with them, I guess, all my life, even when I was unaware, and even now when I'm aware. So we shall continue this discourse onto our next episode. And if you liked this video, do not forget to press the like button. If you like whatever is happening in Sound Health Solution, do not forget to press the subscribe button. We'll make sure that we come up with more meaningful videos for you all. Let's build a community of new age, enlightened, fresh, open-minded individuals. Until next time.